Hello, my name is Randy Dobson. I'm an instructor here in the Houston, Texas area, and this video will be on dimensioning in AutoCAD. It will actually be one of two videos that I'm going to create or have here. And one thing to keep in mind when you're working on dimensions, when you work at a company, they're going to have a certain standard or a certain way of doing things. Their clients will, and you need to be able to adjust to those. You just can't throw down dimensions any way that you want to. So in my courses, I get my students to follow what the assignments look like so they can prepare for the real world. The first thing, I'm going to come up here to annotate, and you've got these different dimensions. This is your quick dimension, which I'm not really going to use right now, but you've got linear, aligned, angular, arc, radius, diameter, jogged, and ordinate. And I'm going to go over each one of those in somewhat detail. But I'm going to go into how to do the settings in my second video. So the first thing is you've got linear, which most people will use. Let me turn my snaps on here for a second. I just want to do this straight, and I can do it that way, or I could do aligned. Okay, which creates the same thing. But you have to understand linear will only dimension left and right and up and down. I'm going to do a linear over here. If I do from here down to here, as you can see, it's actually not giving me the correct distance. It's actually giving me, if you think of it as a right triangle, it's actually giving me the height of it, not the hypotenuse. So there is a linear, and if I go back and do linear on this side, as you can see, it's not giving me true dimensions. I would need to come up here to aligned. Aligned will follow whatever angle the line is, and as you can see, the dimensions are quite different than these right here. These are the actual lengths, the aligned. So those are one thing to consider when you're just deciding which one to use. When a dimension is created, and I'm just going to move this over for a second. If you can see real close here, these little dots, right? I'll kind of highlight it right there in the center of that little dot. That's called a definition point. And that's where I had it originally at, was at that corner, that point. And what AutoCAD has done is it needs to put those points on the drawing. But to help you out, I'm going to go to layers. It creates a layer and puts those points on there. And if you'll notice here, if you remember from your layer videos, that nothing on depth points will print. So what AutoCAD is saying, I'm going to undo this, go back, move it back to where it was. There we go. What AutoCAD is saying is we need to put a point there. Don't worry about it, CAD operator. We're going to put it on a layer, and you can't see, you can't plot it. So it won't get in the way. So if you see those dots, you don't have to worry about it. One thing also I want to talk about is, as I get into these, is exploding a dimension. Many times people either don't know or they don't want to take the time, and they will just go X explode and then change the dimension. Say they'll change it to 3.1. Okay, now by it being exploded, these are all just lines. This is just text. It's basically killed the dimension. Okay, another thing is some people will come in and change the distance. They'll change it to 3.1. And as you notice, it's still a dimension, but watch what happens when I move it over. That's still 3.1. If I move this one over, it's right here. So what would be the correct way to do this? Well, it would be to, you could select it, go to your properties menu, and you could just change your text. If I could slide it down here to, let me get it to my primary units. I've got it to 4, precision of 4. Let me change it to 1. Now it's still a good active dimension, and I did it the correct way. Okay, exploding a dimension is not a good option. If you're in a rush, you're in a hurry, the boss is breathing down your neck, yes, you can do it. But I don't want you to have that habit of exploding dimensions. I'm going to undo and get everything back here the way we had it. Okay. Uh, some of the other dimensions under here are angular. So if I go to angular, it will, let me draw some more lines here so it's getting a little crowded. If I go to angular, it wants two lines. I'll pick those two lines in there. I can pick it like that, or if I want to take it out this way, or if I want to do this angle or this angle, just wherever you decide you want to give it. Okay. The nice thing is, as you change that line, the angle changes with it. That's keeping it an active associated dimension, which is how you want to do these. Again, not exploding them. Um, Now, what will happen also, and I'm going to be going over this in the second video, is you may need to have 4 digits over here, but over here you may only need to have 2 digits. Well, that's where you will get into the dim style and creating different styles. Just like on layers, if you have different line types, you have to create a different layer to make that layer a line type like center line or phantom, and then you put your object on there. And here you would go to create a new layer, and I mean a new dimension style, and I'll just call it 2 decimal just to give it a name. I'll go to continue, and again I will be going over this in the second video. I will change this to 2 decimal, hit OK, hit close, and then just like on a layer, I can just pick this. You see it's on standard. Well, I will put it on 2 decimal, and there I've got these in the same drawing. It works on the same concept of layers, just so you understand that. Now, another thing with working with dimensions is, if you remember from the very first, when you start a drawing, before you do anything on a drawing, you go to units, UN, and make sure that you're on the units you want to be. Okay, in this case, let's just say I wanted to change it to architectural. The sad thing is, AutoCAD doesn't automatically change that. You have to go into the dim style and go to primary units and change it to architectural. Okay, many times what will happen is students will you know have it on architectural, and then they'll go to do something like this, and it comes out 2.2 instead of in inches and feet, where it needed to be changed. Again, this goes back to getting your settings the way that you want them. Another thing to remember when using them is, if you go into the dim style, and again I will be going over this again, if you see anything that is shaded like here, it means that something else is stopping this from happening. Another setting is overriding it. Well, feet and inches wouldn't be used in decimal, so you would be using the 0. Watch what happens when I change it to architectural. Now the 0 is shaded and the feet and inches are active. So again, it is just kind of a side note for you. Um, Another one is arc length, where it will allow you to, let me just draw an arc here real quick. An arc length will give you the length along the arc. Okay, nice little tool, and it actually has the symbol showing you that it's the arc, not this distance right here. Let me just kind of show you. Not this distance here. It's actually, this is more of the chord, where this is the arc length. Uh, then you have radius, good old radius that we know. Here's radius, gives it to you. And then you have diameter. Diameters here. Remember, this is the symbol for diameter. Jogged, I really don't get into. The ordinate is probably one of the most confusing, but it is based off of where your actual objects are located. I'm going to draw a line. Let me just start a line from 0, 0. way over here somewhere. There it is. And I'm just going to go out, oh, about this far. Let me change my units back to decimal just to keep it all good there. And now I'm just going to do a line over here. Now, I'll do another line going up here. So when I go to ordinate and I pick on this corner, as you can see, it's giving me 0, 0. And if I go ordinate again and pick on there, that's 0, 0. Now, if I pick on the ordinate over here, let me get up to my line, and I go to this point right here, as you can see, that's the x coordinate, and there's the y coordinate. So if you have an assignment that has certain call outs, especially if it says 0, 0 at the corner, then that's where your object has to be. The ordinate is based off of right over here, right here at the right, the coordinates. That's what it's based on. Ordinate just means 1. Coordinate means 2. So those are big things to remember. Again, knowing your terminology. R for radius, the circle through the line, which is for diameter. So with the dimensions, you're trying to get them to look like your assignments. One of the rules of dimensioning, which I broke right here, is that dimension lines should never cross. Okay, most people will explode them to break them, but if you look, AutoCAD has created a break, and if you pick this one and this one, and you hit enter, they've made a break, and as you notice, that's still an active dimension. Okay, but wherever it crosses that dimension line, it will give me that break, which is really, really nice. That's more of a graphic thing that you will be learning. So the quick dimension, it really just picks an object. Like here, I can just pick this line, it automatically does it, or picks this circle and does it. Okay, I could go and go quick dimension over here, and it should give me the same. Actually, I've got it already rounded off. I forgot I changed that. So that's a quick dimension. It's really nice. It's only been around for a few versions, so again, understand that if you work on an older version of AutoCAD, that won't be there. You have some other options up here with jogging and updating and doing things like that, which I want you to explore. But the main thing is to get your dimensions to look like your assignments. If your assignment says 3.46, or I'm sorry, if your assignment says 3.09, don't put 3.0926. It will be wrong. Okay, because again, you need to follow the instructions, the standards. I've worked for many clients, Walmart, HEB, Chase Bank, Exxon. They all have certain requirements, and you have to follow them, or you have to go back and change them. Which, when they give you the instructions up front, it's very hard to justify charging them more money to do what you were supposed to do at the first. So this concludes this first video on dimensioning. I will be covering some of this over again in a second, but it will be more of covering the dim styles, and which is going to dim style and going to modify all of these, the line, symbol and arrows, text, fit, and primary units. We will not be going into tolerances or alternate units for this course, but again, it's understanding the definitions of things. If you don't know what an extension line or a dimension line, or you don't know what a center mark is, then these are things you need to learn to help you understand how to work the dimensions. And again, this concludes this video. Thank you.